we're taking you back to English class today because vocab is where it's at. Put your glasses on and get your dictionaries and thesauruses
We're putting the nerd in dirt nerds.
Woo! Welcome back to the Dirt Drive Podcast. It's just three of us today.
No Tim.
Just the
three of us.
We're the three best friends. Anybody want three best friends? So, live from my basement again. We're going to do kind of a simple one, I think, this week is I'm going to go over some important vocabulary and terminology that you may hear on the trail, off the trail, around the shop. It's one of our goals is always to try and educate people the best we can. And that way it's easier for us to communicate as the shop and whatnot. And that way, when you guys do have problems, you can come back to us and say, hey, we're pretty sure this is what's going on. And if you give a good educated guess that we can understand, it really makes everything easier for everybody and just kind of allows for a easy communication. So I think it would be good to share some of our knowledge and things and just kind of generally educate everybody.
So we're taking you back to English class today because vocab is where it's at. But before we get into that, if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure to check out DirtNerdsOffroad.com.
Yep.
You can get to the store from there. Make sure you check out the description below the episode here. We'll have the links to all of our affiliates, all of the codes that will get you discounts on all the products that we're linked up with.
The holiday season, so it would be good to use some discounts.
Use your gift cards.
We have, also if you're local, we have a bunch of stocking stuffer type stuff at the shop from our friends over at Overland Vehicle Systems, some tire deflators, recovery gear, some
first
toe
aid
straps.
kits.
First aid kits are getting put together. Those will be live on the website as well. Yeah, check all that out. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. Everything you guys do, support us. We appreciate. So thank you. And please continue to listen to our shenanigans.
And now, put your glasses on and get your dictionaries and thesauruses out.
We're putting the nerd in dirt nerds.
Woo!
Open
time
to
for our
page
nerd
497.
Oh, God. That's Professor PJ, everybody.
He's just rolling his D20s over there.
What was the British Professor PJ thing that we were going to do at the shop with the Safari hat?
Oh,
there was a whole bit that you were going to do.
Yeah. Oh, what did we have your name as?
Wasn't it like Dr. Jeep or something?
Either that or Professor Jeep.
Professor Jeep?
Yeah, something.
No, it had a better ring to it than that.
It was like John Esquire.
Well, because we were using. Oh, yeah. No, we had done Professor, because obviously your name is John Patrick. John, however you want to put it in whatever order for today. But yeah, I think we had done Professor John Edward Eric Patrick Esquire.
Yes.
That's what it was.
Because you can't be a professor or Esquire without having four names.
Yes.
All first names, by the way.
Yeah. So, put your thinking caps on, children. Get your notebook out. Take notes. So, should we start? I think a common one, which is going to be really hard for an audio podcast, but we're going to try it. A common one that we get the question of at the shop, and we're always explaining, is
the sound my Jeep made.
Yeah, we get that a lot. But the terminology and the names of the steering linkages under your Jeep.
Yes.
This is going to be pretty much a Jeep specific thing, so we're sorry for our Toyota listeners that don't have to visit a shop every 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But
specifically for front end work.
Yeah. So
solid axle only, people.
Yeah, pretty much. The three big ones. This is the mechanic nerd in me. The track bar, the drag link, and the tie rod are the three main components that connect your wheels to your steering wheel. So the one that gets confused a lot for people is the drag link and tie rod. The drag link, easiest way to remember it, is the top one.
Yep. It connects to your pitman arm.
Yep, it connects the pitman arm, which is the little tiny thing. It's not really tiny, but like the 3-4 inch
Not according to
bar. That's what she said. That's connected to your steering box, which is directly connected to your steering wheel. That arm, that drag link goes from that pivot arm down to the passenger wheel on the Jeep. That is the upper one on that passenger side knuckle. Then
Or nuclei, as the English say.
Your tie rod.
Sounds like nucleus. I'm getting scientifical up in here.
Nucleus. I hope you're following this. The tie rod is the one that, how I like to remember it, ties the wheels together.
Yeah.
That's the bar that goes from the passenger wheel to the driver's side wheel.
Straight across.
Yep. So that's the one that everyone bends and breaks off road, which is why our friends at Apex Chassis make a really beefy 2.5 ton aluminum.
All the beef.
Available at DirtNerds Motors.
USDA.
But yeah, so those are your two steering linkages. That's what physically moves your wheels when you're turning left and right. And it exists on pretty much every model of Wrangler, on an XJ, on a ZJ. They all share that same style of steering. Mm-hmm. You'll see them a little bit different. You'll hear things like drag link flip. That's changing that mounting point. It helps keep things parallel and avoid bump steer as you increase in lift. In the JKJL world, you're looking at basically 3.5 or 4.5 inches of lift is where drag link flips become important.
Then people start to do high steer.
Oh yeah. If you're, you can do high, when you're talking about high steer, it's very much off-roading where you're basically bringing all those mounting points as high as possible to avoid hitting them on rocks and things.
Where's the fun in that?
Yeah. I mean, we have some friends that definitely treat their tie rods like a bumper. Tim.
Got to protect your tip cover.
Yep.
I just keep wheeling until I hit stuff and then I turn it.
Yeah, it's feeling his way through the trail like a blind man.
Yeah.
Tim was the first person to ever bend the 1-inch solid bar steering from CabFab.
Yes.
Yeah, that came with a lifetime warranty. He was the first person to ever warranty it.
And we have the email framed.
Yeah, we do. That would be a good, when we get a real permanent studio, that would be a good piece of art for the studio.
Yes. It's pretty impressive when you get an email back from the company saying,
wow, you're the first person to do that. Yeah. The track bar, the third piece of this equation, is the bar that basically keeps the axle attached to the vehicle. Its job is to center it so that way you don't crab walk or have weird wanderings and all kinds of stuff. It is also the number one cause of death wobble. If your track bar is loose, worn out, bent, broken, missing, whatever it is, that is what will cause your death wobble. Now there are obviously other things, but that is 9 times out of 10 the cause of it. They have rubber bushings, they wear out. Aftermarket ones can be made with Heims, whatever. There's 1,000 things that can go wrong with them, and they usually are the cause of death wobble. Mm-hmm. The geometry we talk about is having that bar and your drag link as parallel as possible, and that will avoid you having bump steer, which is when you hit a bump and your Jeep changes lanes.
Always fun.
Also, similar, I guess while we're covering a lot of vocab on this one section.
Yeah.
Bump steer and death wobble, very similar, but completely different.
Mm-hmm. And only one makes you shit your pants.
Yeah. If you've experienced real death wobble, you know. And
shakes your teeth loose.
One of the common things we get is, I think I'm about to get death wobble. It's got death wobble is starting, but it doesn't fully wobble.
No.
9 times out of 10, that is a cause of bump steer.
Yeah.
Which is typically worn out tie rod ends from your drag link or tie rod. So yeah, there is a slight difference between bump steer and death wobble. Bump steer can lead to death wobble. If you've never experienced death wobble, that would be a fun thing to do.
Death wobble?
No. No. So you know how big dogs used to do the rollover Jeep?
Yeah.
We should do
a death
wobble demo rides.
Just fucking leave a TJ with a track bar loose?
Yeah.
On 35.
Just drive through the field. Just
Oh, no. Like we're getting the full experience. 65 down the freeway.
I don't think insurance is going to cover that.
Well, you do it in their Jeep. It's just
we're just going to intentionally loosen your track bar and take you out on the highway.
Yeah. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Don't do this at home.
What'd you find?
Nothing.
Oh.
PJ doesn't want to be the driver for that.
Oh, I couldn't see your hand behind the microphone, so I'm like, you either found something on your phone or you're just massively freaked out.
We'll have Devin do it. He's not on the insurance anyway.
True. Sorry, Devin. Love you.
Love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy. I don't know if you listen to the podcast yet, but so that covers my big vocab pet peeve is the just like, learn it. There's tons of diagrams out there. Check the social medias. Maybe I'll do a quick post about
do the Googles,
what the 3 links are, and
yeah. I was gonna say I hear when a lot of people come to the shop, I hear them combine them and they treat them as like one thing. They say, "Oh, my tie rod drag link." It's like, wait, so which one?
Yeah,
well, you get the drag rod, tie link,
or they just say my tie rod end is bad.
Yeah,
which one?
Which one? Yeah. And if you have the stock steering,
it's the one connected to my steering. That's your drag link.
Yeah. It's
you're not wrong, but you're wrong.
Now people will also. I've seen a lot of people point at the tie rod and drag link ends and go, "My ball joints are bad."
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so that's
because I get there is a ball joint.
I was going to say,
yeah,
tie rod end is a ball joint,
but what they're talking about is not the actual ball joint in the tie rod.
Yeah,
which is fine. Some people don't know. But
yeah. Well, that's the whole point. But that's why we're educated.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I get it. Like, they're all kind of in the same area, so I definitely understand when people are like, "Oh, my ball joint's bad." It's like you just pointed at your steering, so we're going to look at everything now.
Yep. Well, and that's really at the end of the day what we do from a shop standpoint. We check it all anyway, and like you're not like we see a lot. We get a lot of the. I have the death wobble. That's the other one I love. I have the death wobble.
The death wobble.
I mean, he's got
the death wobble. Yeah. You may be death wobble, but I'm the death wobble.
It's like the Black Plague for Jeeps. But then when we actually go through the diag process and it ends up being a bump steer situation or a bad ball joint situation, and it's a shimmy.
Yep.
And it's like, it's definitely bad. It's sketchy. Like, it's uncomfortable to drive, but it's not death wobble.
No.
Which is why I feel like I want to take people on death wobble rides. We got to find a good closed course to do this at.
Yeah, it's called the field at the Cove.
No, the field. You can't do it on a field because the field will keep it from death wobbling. You need a flat surface where you hit the
fire access road at the Cove.
I think Extreme Terrain did a video.
Do the road we took the photos of.
Yeah, that's still a public road.
The road we took the photos of.
We did the photo shoot
Jeff
with
Benson's
with the 392.
That road, it's pretty dead.
Yeah, but you still.
That's still a public road.
It should be a closed because that way, if anything does happen, you're not.
Does Summit Point have a 8th mile strip?
I have no idea. I haven't been there in a long time.
I know. That's why we need a good drag strip that we could go to, and just like host it.
Oh yeah.
Be like Death Wobble demo day, so you can experience Death Wobble and understand why it's called Death Wobble.
The one red Bronco that we had that we did ball joints.
Oh, the old Bronco. Yeah.
Was that a split axle?
Yes, that's the twin I-beam.
That's what it is.
Yeah, the TTB front end.
Those things are so fucking weird to me still.
Think of them as really long, control arms on an independent front suspension. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, we're not.
Yeah, no.
I feel like that's a tough one to explain through a podcast. So we're not
you need to.
You really got to look it up.
Yeah.
No, you need an animation to understand twin I-beam. But
I mean, they still technically use it for a lot of the trophy trucks and pre-runners.
Yeah,
but
most
even
trophy
then, those
trucks are two-wheel drive.
Rear-wheel drives. It's just they got the twin I-beam.
Yep. Because it's when done right, you can get a ton of down travel out of them. But the stock version is not done right because it's Ford. Sorry.
Now the other one we hear, memory steer. This is one of your biggest pet peeves.
Yeah.
When people use the word memory steer.
Yeah, there's a difference between memory steer and
your power steering just not working,
or the Jeep just going in the direction it's pointed.
Yeah.
The memory steer would be if you're making a full 90-degree left turn and the Jeep just kept going left.
Yep.
Like if you can let go of the wheel and it just goes, it'll basically drive itself in a circle without your hand on the wheel. That's memory steer. It's the front end of a Jeep is pretty finicky.
Yes. Especially two.
Oh, actually, I can lead this into some more terminology that would be good for people. The alignment angles.
Yes.
The biggest one with Jeeps that we talk about is caster.
what is caster, Tom?
I'll get there in a second. When you lift a Jeep, we increase that caster above the stock spec, which helps the Jeep drive in a straight line. It cuts out a lot of the wandering that you get from the wider tires and all the other things that go with those modifications. And that the problem with that is the Jeep will always want to go straight.
Yes.
So when your caster's increased, essentially, if you make a left, like a lane change, and you point the Jeep to the left and let go of the wheel will return to center, but the Jeep is still pointed left. Mm-hmm. So it'll just continue to go left. You do have to
overcorrect.
Oh, not quite overcorrect, but you do have to bring the Jeep back to straight before it will go straight. Yeah. Once essentially you're keeping it in that left turn,
especially on a crown road.
Yeah. Oh, and especially here in Northern Virginia, where our highways are very crowned for drainage and icing and things. So like when you go from that middle lane, which is the middle of the crown, to the left lane, and the left lane is sloped down to away from you to the left. Yep. If you point it left, you're going to continue to go left until you come back centered and straighten up your wheels, and then it'll go in a nice straight line if everything's done correctly. So the caster spec, because this actually applies to independent front as well, is if you picture a line going vertically, looking at the side of the vehicle, looking at the wheel, a line going vertically through the center of the wheel, that straight up and down is 0 degrees of caster.
Yep.
Very common on like the old CJ5s, old CJ7s with the leaf springs, that those have 0 degrees of caster, which is why the reputation of rollovers and Jeeps being hard to drive and all that stuff, that's where that stuff comes from. There's shims and things you can do to adjust caster from there, but that's splitting hairs. If you have a positive caster angle, that line is tilted backwards towards the vehicle. So in a Jeep, factory spec is about 4 to 4.5 degrees.
Yep.
When we lift it, we're looking for a 5.5 to 6.5, depending on the Jeep and height and all kinds of other factors. But that basically we're just tilting that center line back, and that helps the wheels track straight. If you had negative caster, which doesn't really exist in the automotive world, but the easiest way to explain negative caster is the front wheels of a shopping cart, right? Like they swivel. When you start going in a straight line, those wheels do come back to straight.
Yep.
Because the negative caster has that same straightness effect. The problem is, if you've ever had a shopping cart with a bad front wheel and it wobbles, that's the downside to negative caster, because you're taking the amount of force needed to turn the wheel and you're reducing it. So if you had negative caster, you're going to go in a straight line, but when that wheel hits a groove in the road, that wheel is going to go wherever it wants, because you're basically making it easier for the wheels to turn.
So positive then does the opposite, where it makes you have to use more force to turn the tire,
which is what helps keep it straight. And like the other, like you can have too much caster. Yeah. If you have too much caster, typically your front pinion angle for your front drive shaft is going to be garbage, which may cause a vibration.
Yep.
And it also will make the steering wheel harder to turn. Like that initial brake, especially on like a wide tire, like if you're running a 37, 13.5, like it's going to require a little extra effort. So it's all a matter of balance. And that's why I say like that 5.5 to 6.5 degree mark is a really good balance point. As we learned with the 392s, we did a big lift on it, and the 392 has an all-wheel drive type setup. And that front drive shaft, unlike the rest of the JLs, is spinning all the time.
Yep.
And we added, at the request of the customer, extra caster. We ran it almost to 7 degrees because that's what they wanted. And they had this real slight vibration. Turned out to be the drive shaft. We took a little bit of caster out of it. Still went straight like the customer wanted, but we were able to adjust that pinion angle by changing the caster. The other two main ones, I'll say three. I guess there's three more that we should talk about. You have camber, which if you're looking at the front of the vehicle, that same vertical line we drew for caster is tilted in towards the engine or away towards the engine.
Cambered out, yo.
Yeah.
JDM as fuck.
If you're into the
race car,
if you're into that tuner life, and the company that shall no longer be named on our podcast.
If you own a slammed Honda Civic,
you know exactly what we're talking about. You'll see those guys. They run a lot of negative camber because they can fit a nice wide wheel up and have a lot of tuck and poke, and that's what they call it in the stance world.
You gotta flare your fenders.
Yeah, you gotta roll your fenders with a baseball bat. Trevor clearly has not spent a whole lot of time in the tuner world.
Oh, I mean, I know what you're talking about. Those names are just dumb.
Yeah. Anyway, so
straight dumb.
On the Jeeps.
I mean, that's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah. On a solid axle, it's not typically adjustable unless you have special ball joints, which we do not recommend.
Yeah, no.
If your camber is out of spec and you're getting a bunch of tire wear, like you'll see, if you have excessive negative camber, the inside edge of your tire wears.
You broke.
Yeah. Your ball joints are usually worn out, or your axle's bent. Like that's
I got negative camber in my TJ.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. It's we've seen that a few times.
So what size tires you running on there, PJ?
35.
Ooh, what front axle you got, PJ?
Dana 30.
Yeah.
The Dana 30 pretzel.
Bye, C.
Yeah. Woo. On the independent front suspension stuff, again, that stuff is typically adjustable to some degree. More negative camber will help you go straight, but it will also chew up tires.
Yep.
So you do want to aim for factory spec or close to zero if you're into doing custom alignments and things. And then you have toe, which is what people refer to as the steering angle. That is the front edge of the tire pointed in or pointed out. So if you think of your feet, like if you're pigeon-toed and your toes are pointed in, think of like that's toed in and then toed out. And all this stuff like we're talking about, we're talking tenths of degrees.
It doesn't take much.
It's really small numbers. The idea of toe is when you're turning and you're going around that corner, the inside wheel of that corner has to travel less distance than the outside wheel. So if your wheels were always perfectly straight ahead, when you make a sharp turn, that outside wheel would get dragged. And basically the toe adjusts what's called the Ackerman angle, which is the angle in which the wheels, like they're not always parallel to each other. Yeah, I know. So we're putting the nerd in dirt nerds today, boys. Those wheels are not always parallel to each other.
Yep.
So typically you see a little bit of toe out or a little bit of toe in, depending on the setup. And if you have too much toe in either direction, you'll get what's called scrubbing, which is where you're literally, like, if you think of the wheel being sideways.
That happened to Devin the other day.
Yeah. Yeah. And it'll cause feathering in the tire, all kinds of weird twitchiness on the road. And the nice thing is with that angle on a Jeep or even most of the Toyotas, that angle doesn't change based on lift kit. Depending on what size tire you're running, you can make some adjustments and things. But factory spec usually works pretty good. Those guys tend to know what they're talking about.
A lot of front end stuff.
Well, and I'm glad you bring that up because now we can talk about the back end.
Thrust angle.
Thrust angle.
Yay!
That is very simple. That is
how much you thrust.
Yeah. That is the angle, the relationship in degrees of the rear axle to the front axle. So if your rear axle is cocked to the side, so say you bend a control arm and that passenger rear wheel is pulled forward.
Yep.
That's going to give you a thrust. That's going to throw off your thrust angle.
Yep.
Because now your rear axle is pointed to the left and your front axle is pointed straight.
Dog legging it.
Yep.
You're dog legging, you're twitch, all kinds of wacky things happen. And again, we're talking spec is usually like 0.3 of a degree.
Yeah.
So, if you're have a fancy lift kit with a bunch of adjustable arms and the arms don't get set right, your thrust angle may be off. If you bend something, your thrust angle may be off.
Yeah, because with your factory non-adjustable arms, you can't adjust your thrust angle.
Correct. If it's bent, if it's
out of whack, it's out.
Something's out of whack.
Yeah.
Whether it's bent, broken, weird Chrysler quality control, who knows? Yeah. That's pretty much. That's my suspension rant. I don't know. What do you guys want to know?
That kind of covers the majority of it, and especially with people coming in asking questions and not necessarily laughing at them, but try and educate.
The alignment is definitely the big one. Alignment has always and always will be, because unfortunately people go on the internet and
everyone's an expert when they Google it. But
what would you say because you've worked in a bunch of different places over the years, what would you say is outside of the front end stuff and alignment stuff, have you seen people either mix up terms or just not know what the term was?
I feel like a lot of people, and no fault of their own, they just kind of like get hung up in the maintenance side of their vehicles. They get like super paranoid about like intervals and like what kind of oil they use, and like you tell them, oh, you don't need an oil change, and then they just like freak out. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good tech tip. We could probably do another whole episode on tech tips and maintenance tips.
A lot of people just take the smallest things and like make it a big deal because they don't really know any better, and you try and like settle them down a little bit. Like, especially when like we find something that's like not necessarily a bad thing, but we try and tell them, and then they just wig out.
Oh that's a whole segment on that.
Because my mindset is I like telling people about what's going on with their vehicle before anything gets worse.
Oh, we know.
Not to say that it will.
Oh, we know.
But it's like going to the doctor, like, hey, you got a little mole on your hand. You should probably get that looked at.
Your cholesterol's a little high.
PJ's got a great habit of the customer is waiting for their inspection, and PJ comes in with a list of 73 things on it, and the customer looks like a deer in headlights, and they go, oh my God, my vehicle's going to fall apart. And PJ's first words are, it's not that bad.
I only found 103 things wrong with it.
And because the best part is, it really is not that bad. It's just, hey, you've got some wear on this. You've got this. You've got, you're a little low on this. And it's just
I've been trained to be thorough, okay? I can't get it out of my system.
It's almost entertainment at this point because I know it's going to happen.
It's a bit.
And the customer's sitting there and they're so confident that they bought a good vehicle, and PJ walks in with 3 pages of notes and they're like, oh my God. He's like, it's not bad. And we put it all, it's like, oh yeah, half the stuff you don't even have to really do.
Yep.
Your estimate for your maintenance is going to be $375. Like,
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I feel like another like question we get a lot is like, what is a locker or a differential?
Yes.
Locker,
limited slip.
There's no such thing as a front rear.
Yes.
Oh my God.
That's an old school thing from back when there was only 2-wheel drive vehicles and it was a rear end. It's not. It's the rear end because it's in the back. It's a differential or an axle.
Yes.
There's no such thing as like you don't need your rears serviced. You need your axles.
Differential
serviced.
and axle are 2 different things, though.
If we're gonna start splitting hairs, yes. Yeah. Go with diffs or differential.
There is no such thing as a front quarter panel.
Ah, yes, the front quarter panel is a good one. It's a fender.
It's a fender.
There's also no such thing as a rear fender.
It's a quarter panel.
Yeah, that's
we're getting into the body world now.
That's Trevor's old PDR guy in him. I got a dent on my front quarter.
Oh, do you now?
Do you? Were you driving in a reverse car?
The only one that may, and I say may, apply to would be the bubble version of the Volkswagen Beetles, because that fender is literally the same part all the way around the car.
Yeah.
It's literally the only car that has that.
Yeah.
Now, the other big one, it's a radiator.
Not a radiator.
That's a pronunciation issue. That's geographical. That's a geographical problem.
Still wrong.
It's also creek, not crick.
Yeah.
We're probably going to offend some people from West Virginia today.
You wash your clothes.
Yeah, there's no wash.
No, if you wash it, it's just getting extra clean because there's an extra consonant.
Well,
that's what I tell my mother-in-law. Because she loves to wash her clothes.
I will preface that you can wash your clothes in the crick.
Yes.
Because that's the only place that things get washed is a crick. But that also doesn't exist.
True.
So I was going to college in Pennsylvania, I worked at Fastenal.
Yep.
And people would come in and be like, I need some flat washers. And I'd be like, the flat washers are in aisle 4. There's no R in those, so they might be a little hard to find.
How's Ethan's guys today?
Yeah.
Yes, that one's not that bad. But yeah, I don't know. What trail terminology should we be discussing as far as like a gatekeeper? I feel like
gatekeeper's a good one because I think at least for new people, I think they literally envision a gate.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's an obstacle that is designed to show whether or not you should really attempt the trail you're about to go down.
I think the key is
in this situation, a gatekeeper is a good thing.
Right. I think if the gatekeeper, it might not be the hardest obstacle of the trail.
No.
But that's the whole point of it is if you can't get over the gatekeeper without a winch, you're probably not going to be able to finish the rest of the trail.
Correct.
Or at least not easily.
Yeah, or without some kind of damage or something. So don't move gatekeepers.
Yeah. You use for your own benefit, use that gatekeeper as a should I be on this trail or not? I guess the heat's on.
Hi, HVAC.
The house is taking off.
It does kind of sound like it does.
Entering atmosphere in 20 minutes.
Sweet, it's like up. I wonder if there's a talking dog too.
Gatekeepers.
Can you imagine if Rusty started talking?
Oh man,
God, that could be a podcast in itself.
I'd have to throw away my Dayquil.
Oh yeah, Bodie. Whew. I'm worried about Rusty talking. Can you imagine if Bodie could talk? Like Donnie from the Wild Thornberries.
Pretty much.
Off camber.
Off camber is a good one. It is not just a Jeep club from Northern Virginia.
Yep. So that's a lot of people ask what that means because they hear people talk about it on the trail, and it's always
quite unsettling.
It's always funny to me too because people will watch it happen, and then someone will say, "Ooh, they were really off camera." And they go, "What's that mean?" It's like you just
as we explained what camber was in the alignment spec.
Yeah,
it is also a way to describe the angle of the trail. Mm-hmm. So if you're off camber, you're basically
angle of the dangle.
Yes, it is quite the angle of the dangle.
It's funny you say that because I used to dangle a Stormtrooper air freshener from my rearview mirror, and that was my camber measurement.
Exactly.
And I was like, if his head disappears behind my rearview mirror, I'm gone too far.
Yes.
Yeah, but basically, like if the trail is going to the left, if you're bending or turning to the left, but you're leaning to the right, that's what is considered off camber, and it is quite unsettling if you get to extreme angles.
Yeah. Well, and the funny part about it is it doesn't even have to be that extreme because inside the vehicle,
it's going to feel way worse.
It feels so much worse.
Yep, that'll make or break some relationships. Can confirm.
But also make or break some underwear.
Yeah. It's why it's good to have leather or vinyl seats. Easy wipe to clean. Always, and in your trail spares, always have some pants and undies.
Yep. Let's see.
High-centered?
High-centered's good.
Also known as turtle.
Mm-hmm. Turtle. I was going to say, if somebody says turtling, people will go, huh?
I don't have to
You're
poop.
high-centered. Huh?
Yeah, basically you find a rock big enough that all four wheels are off the ground and you're bellied out.
If your shit's too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gladiators.
Yeah, I mean, that we could talk about breakover angle and departure and approach angles.
Yeah.
So as PJ mentioned, the if your wheelbase is too long,
like LJ's.
Yeah, your what they would call breakover angle.
110 is perfect.
No,
okay?
I know. The LJ is actually legitimately
the
perfect.
Unicorn. You can, if you're going up a hill and immediately come back down, that's the easiest way to view this. The steeper that angle, the shorter wheelbase you need to be able to, or have to be able to go up and over without getting high centered. Your approach angle is the angle between your tire and the furthest out point of the front of your vehicle.
Typically your bumper.
Yeah, typically a bumper or winch or whatever. This is where Jeeps actually excel is their approach angles.
Yeah. Damn right.
If you had, you can, in theory.
What is that?
In theory, you
We're
can
not on
have
video, so I have to
sound effects.
Contain yourself? Like,
if you have like a stubby bumper on your Jeep,
Yep.
in theory, depending on how you approach your obstacle, you have a 90-degree approach angle, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
you
there's nothing in front of your tire.
Right, you can put that tire straight on the obstacle
Which
and go
buggies
up.
do a lot of.
Yeah, well, but they also build them where the tires are the first thing to hit for that reason. And then the departure angle is just the opposite, which is also where the Gladiator sucks.
Just bob that bitch.
Yeah, the bed is hanging so far past the rear wheel that when you come down a steep hill, your bumper hits before your wheels support the weight of the vehicle.
Yes.
Which
Every Wrangler owner has felt that when they go off a little bitty ledge.
and their spare tire catches.
Either spare tire or the hitch.
Yeah.
And you get that god-awful... like...
Yeah, that's how you fracture a vertebrae.
Yeah. Yeah, because you land on your ass in some mud.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is we have to name a new trail the Backbreaker.
Yes.
That does not sound fun at all.
So if there was
Confirm, not fun.
yeah, if there ever was a trail that would have done it to me,
Pinnacle. Come down Pinnacle if you don't...
Lisa's trail, where I almost died.
That wasn't a departure angle issue.
No, you're right. That was a
issue.
diff issue.
Yeah, that's
Where you
completely,
almost went through the windshield?
Yeah.
it's completely unrelated to the departure angle. Canyon and Pinnacle are two good examples.
Yes.
Where like with Pinnacle, if you have a bad approach angle or departure angle, you have to go. You have to
you gotta
zigzag the
zigzag
stair
it.
steps. You can't just go straight down.
Canyon's a really good one because although the cut through next to BS Jeepers where Jason got high centered.
Yeah, that's just a big rock issue. Yeah,
big rock garden
because
issue.
Darwin got stuck in there too.
Yep.
That's just again picking the right line, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah,
But that's where your aftermarket bumpers and things come in.
Yeah.
Because you'll hear them talk about it all the time where they go, we have the best approach angle because they angle their bumpers.
Yep. Well, the bumper sits up high.
Yeah.
There's
Because you're a terrible stock rectangle piece of crap.
yeah. Lifting your vehicle can help increase
You want all the
approach
angles.
and departure angles.
All of them.
Let's see what's some good recovery vocabulary we can go
Kinetic
over.
rope.
Ooh. You want to explain what a kinetic rope is?
Springy
Do it.
boy.
So
That sums it up.
yeah, whereas your normal tow strap is designed to have tension, constant tension to pull. Your kinetic rope, you're actually using that forward momentum to slingshot, like Ricky Bobby behind Cal Naughton Jr.
Or if you really want to
Shake
get
and
nerdy with it, think about Black Panther's armor. It absorbs all of the energy and blows.
Correct.
And then,
Yes. Typically used to get people
actually
out of like mud.
don't understand that reference.
Really?
But I'm not a big Marvel superhero movie guy. But
that's how it's used.
Knowing what a kinetic
Sort of.
rope is,
Yeah, no,
I
absolutely.
understand.
it is.
I understand.
Just a little bit of
what it
longer
works.
duration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're using forward motion to create potential energy and then turn it into kinetic energy to slingshot out of the mud.
If you've ever
And not
seen,
kill anybody in the process.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
because the toe straps.
it's
You do that with a toe strap and a D ring, and that D ring is going to go shooting across
The
and hit
D
someone in the
stands
head.
for death because you're going to die.
I mean,
Triangle of death.
Yes.
I said great article, but there was an article from an instance where that happened, where they were using a toe strap and a hitch ball.
Yep.
Yeah, and it ripped the hitch ball off and it went straight through the windshield and into the guy's brain.
Because instead of pulling tension first and then accelerating, they tried to snap it out.
Yep.
And
it literally
that toe
ripped
strap
the
is
ball.
not designed for that lateral force, but it was strong enough because like a toe strap's got like a 30,000 pound braking tension. That toe strap was strong enough that it ripped the hitch ball out of the receiver because they're not designed for snap load.
Nope.
And because that snap load is a multiplier, and it launched the hitch ball back through the windshield into the truck that was being recovered.
Yes.
So, like, you know, the safety aspect goes both ways. If you're doing the recovery, you should know how
what
to
you're
do it
using.
safely.
Yeah.
And if you're being recovered, you should have the knowledge to make sure that the person helping you is being relatively safe.
Yep. Triangle of death.
Yeah. So like both tools have good use in a toe strap versus kinetic rope. There is a difference.
Yes, very much so.
So educate yourselves. We could, again, probably do a whole nother episode on recovery nerd stuff.
Yep.
But
Tom's off-road recovery.
Hey.
I think that's been done. So maybe we'll just paint everything green. Lime green, everything.
We could do a parody video.
Could.
Yeah. But yeah, for the newbies out there, you'll hear some people say the triangle of death.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's
If you have a change of direction on your winch line.
You never want to stand in between the lines that are being pulled. Because basically your change of direction, if that snaps off the tree, then slingshots to where you're standing. Always stand on the outside of the triangle, not inside the triangle, and don't die.
There weren't a lot of classes I paid attention to in school, but physics was definitely one of them.
Yes. Physics is a bitch.
It really is. But it's simple enough to understand.
Oh, yeah.
That it can really save you in a situation like that, where when you just think about what forces are being applied, where the stress is this safe? Is this not safe? You know, there's obviously tons and tons of things you could do to make things safer, but there's always some inherent risk to it. The triangle of death is an easy one. We see it all the time where someone sets up some sort of recovery with a snatch block and then
stands directly across from a snatch block.
We'll get to that. But thanks to wireless winch remotes, they're walking around while they're winching in, watching everything, and they're directly in line with the pulley. And it's like, if the little pin that holds that together was built on Friday afternoon and they didn't fully seat the clip, and that clip lets go and that pin falls out and that 4-pound metal pulley gets launched at your forehead,
you're dead.
Yeah. Hence the triangle of death.
Yeah.
But snatch block is a good vocab one. That's a pulley. It's a pulley.
Yep.
It's a change of direction. You're starting to see them. We have them in stock at the shop.
Yep.
Made out of a nice piece of aluminum. And instead of having moving parts like a snatch block would have to fail, that you just loop a soft shackle through it, which is an alternative to a D-ring. It's a
very nice alternative.
Yeah. Basically, the softer you can make the parts, the less likely they are to be a projectile.
Yep.
And if they do become a projectile, they're going to do less damage because they're soft.
A lot of those soft ones, too, are now designed where when they break, they basically just fall to the ground.
Well, that's because they lose all their tension. So, like a steel cable is under so much tension when you're pulling that when it breaks, that tension's got to release, which is what causes it to whip.
Yep.
The
synthetic lines
because they're a rope, they're not actually under tension, they're under friction.
Yep.
That's what makes that's why they're all woven together. All that surface area of the weaving is what gives it its strength because it's all held together, and if it breaks, all you're releasing is that friction.
Yep.
There's no spring to it.
Safe.
Science.
Yep.
Plus, they don't kink.
True. I'm sure there's a video.
They do.
I guess technically they do, but not in the same way that the steel cables do.
Like the downside to synthetic, like there's so many upsides that people tend to forget the downsides to synthetic.
Yeah. They get dirty.
But they're brittle. They degrade.
Yes.
They degrade over time. They're more cut. They're not as cut resistant.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, again, we could do a whole episode on synthetic rope versus coil or a steel cable.
I'd rather not lose my head.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll clean my rope and put a cover on my winch.
I'll replace it every 5 years or whatever it is.
Over dying. Yeah.
That's $90.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're more than that, but yeah.
For good ones.
A good synthetic rope is going to cost you $200 to $300, but it's worth every penny.
Absolutely.
You should, even if you don't care for it, you should get 5 years out of that rope all day long.
And I think most of them have like a limited lifetime warranty.
To some extent.
To some
the good ones do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. What other
I mean, there's
fancy buzzwords.
If you're really interested in the synthetic versus steel cable, there's good videos of like them pulled under tension and people cutting them. The synthetic just falls while the steel cable just
Recovery points.
Yep.
Anything solid enough to pull a vehicle.
Don't pull from the roll cage.
Yeah.
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 I mean, you can. Again, they're like
maybe to stabilize or keep it from falling over, but you don't want to pull something out of the mud from your roll cage.
No, that's don't do that. I don't know. Maybe we can open this up to people. We'll do a part 2.
Yeah. What terms have you heard either out on the trail, at a shop?
Send an email to Tim at DirtNerdsOffroad.com, and if there's anything off-road or not off-road related.
Yeah.
Just
be mechanical.
Just send Tim, Tim, at dirtnerdsoffroad.com an email, and we'll go ahead and put that in a part 2 episode for everybody, because I have a feeling if we keep going at this rate, we're just going to end up rambling about recovery, which is going to turn into a whole nother episode. So.
But make sure
maybe
when
we
you
can have
send,
Matt on here.
Yeah, but I mean, it could be mechanical vocab, trail vocab. If you're new and you went out on a trail ride with some people and they were using some words that you can't quite figure out.
Now, they may just be from the country.
Just might be slang, but you know.
And if there's anything we get stumped on, we'll send you a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Send us one that if we don't know it, we'll send you a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Or sticker.
But make sure you start each
Maybe
one
both.
of those emails with Timmy.
Timma.
Timma.
That's TIM at dirtnerdsoffroad.com.
And make sure you check out the website. Check out the links below for all your discounts. Use those gift cards.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe. Follow us everywhere.
Yep, we really appreciate all the listens and support. And, tell your friends.
And keep on the forum and everything. There's a couple of trips and events that are coming up that we're going to be posting about.
Yeah.
A really good charity event that's coming up that you guys can donate to if you can't make it.
Yep.
And then, some stuff coming up in the spring at the beginning of next year.
Yeah,
so
some
make
stuff
sure you
that
follow along.
we're participating in, some stuff we're attending, and some stuff we're hosting.
Yep.
So join it. Dirt Nerds Off-Road Forum on Facebook. I think there's like 500 members. We're usually pretty active in there.
Yeah.
So.
And this has been your Encyclopedia Thesaurus Dictionary of the Day. Reading Rainbow. Good night.
What happens if it's morning?
Damn.
Are you enjoying this podcast? Do you want more ridiculousness from the Dirt Nerds? Check out dirtnerdsoffroad.com. It'll link to all of our social media, as well as our YouTube page, and you can pick up some sweet merch to help support the podcast and other adventures.